Did you actually think I could let this year end without doing a top 10 games list? Well, I can't, and I didn't. And rather than limiting myself to games that were actually released in 2012, because honestly, who knows which platform what game came out for and when, I'm looking at games that I actually played this year and took a look at on this channel. So without further ado, I'm presenting Pixel Freak's top 10 games played in 2012. There were a number of good runner-type games that were played this year. Cannonball and Temple Run were a couple of noteworthy titles that could have just as easily made this list. In the end, Rayman Jungle Run was an amazingly polished game from the graphics and animation to the music and innovative one-button multi-purpose gameplay. Ubisoft set a new benchmark for what is expected from platform runners, and for that reason, Rayman Jungle Run is Pixel Freak's 10th best game of this year. Who says an RTS game has to be about wizards or space marines? Euphoria HD features warfare centered around seedlings, trees, and their interplanetary exploration. With the amazing interface and relaxing soundtrack, Euphoria stands out as a great mobile game that utilizes the strength of the platform. Stockpiling seeds for reasons outside preparation for Armageddon has never been so fun, making Euphoria a game that shouldn't be missed. World of Goo helped define physics games on the Wii and PC, and its move to mobile devices was nothing if not elegant. One of the first high-caliber games to make its way to Android, World of Goo is a shining example of the level of polish games on smart devices can have. With its easy-to-pick-up and put-down gameplay, great touch interface, and charming little goo creatures, World of Goo stands out as a game that demands it not be missed. Though the racing simulator seems to be the runaway popular genre, mini-motor racing has taught us that the arcade racer is alive, well, and more fun than it's ever been. There's been more than a few late nights spent racing tracks forwards, backwards, in various weather conditions at various times of days, just for a few more bucks. With countless track variation, gobs of vehicles, hundreds of different races, and an intuitive control scheme putting the control of your car in your thumb, Mini Motor Racing stands tall as one of the top 10 games of 2012. Developers are still trying to get the magical recipe of the first-person shooter to work on phones and tablets. But that didn't stop Gameloft from making the third game in their Nova series from being a great game despite a few yet-to-be tweaked controls. At the time of its release, Nova 3 proudly and dominantly wore the badge of the best graphics on Android. The iOS space may have been a little bit more contested, but it was up there with the best of them. Nova 3 was demonstrably the best FPS game on portable devices, and for that reason, it landed as number 6. Possibly one of the greatest pieces of this new mobile game space has been the lower barriers for indie developers to run wild. Osmos, which first came out on Steam, has seen almost universal acclaim, even being named as App of the Year by Apple. Floating through space and absorbing inferior entities while battling gravity and avoiding hungry adversaries is one of the best things to melt my face in a long time. With recent multiplayer updates and an amazing soundtrack, this will be a hard game to top for years to come. Kairosoft has blown up the world of simulation games with huge hits like Game Dev Story, Beastie Bay, and Epic Astro Story. This year, their best hands down was Dungeon Village, a simulation of a town located precariously close to a series of dungeons that the most heroic adventurers come to explore. As the town leader, you guide the would-be explorers through their travels and provide them with necessary accommodations in your town to slay the nefarious creatures and uncover the most oracular of treasures. Beware, Dungeon Village, like many Kairosoft games, has the ability to make time pass very quickly, even burning an entire weekend if you let your guard down. Square Enix has been a solid player on iOS for a while, but they doubled down that bet this year and are quickly bringing their full catalog to Android as well. Their first big play was a port of the DS version of Final Fantasy III, and it made quite a good impression on the Android community. Despite costing over $15, far more than most other games, Final Fantasy III is one of the most polished games and debatably the best RPG out there. With upgraded graphics, a great new touch-based interface, and a marvelous job system, Final Fantasy III claimed its spot as my number 3 of this year and favorite RPG. In the world of tablets and smartphones, tower defense games are a dime a dozen. Few of them have the ability to rival what Hexage has been able to do with Radiant Defense. I'm sure it'll be quite controversial that this is my number 2 game of the year due to the tiered weapon pricing model, which I contend is only $4 and completely fair priced. For that price of $4 or less, this game will have you playing levels over and over in an effort to find that optimal route maximizing your domination. An amazing graphic style, great touch controls, sound effects that border on perfection, and the entry price of free makes Radiant Defense easily the number 2 game of the year. Platform gaming in the late 80s is what started my love for video games. So it seems fitting that this year's Game of the Year is a nostalgic platform shooter that goes by Gunman Clive. There's so much retro built into Gunman Clive, from its parchment wanted sign illustration art design to its Mega Man-esque sound effects and gameplay, it would be difficult to not find yourself in footy pajamas in front of a tube TV at 7:30 in the morning. Even the difficulty of Gunman Clive was set nearly on par with those punishing experiences from the NES. Rather than becoming frustrating, however, each death becomes inspiration to learn from your mistakes and come back guns a-blazing. Somehow, through magic or miracles, innovation was found in the world of platform games. This one's different. This one felt important. So make sure to leave a comment with your top 10. I know there's a lot of games that I skipped over, and especially some iOS games, because currently I don't have an iOS device. I apologize to those iOS users out there. I'm trying to get up to speed because I'd like to cover it from both platforms. But what is your top 10? Is it Modern Combat 4? Is it in there? Final Fantasy Dimensions? Bard's Tale? I know these are all great games that I didn't mention, but I may not have mentioned them mostly because I didn't play those ones or hadn't played them enough to actually make that decision. Your top 10, what is it? Put it in the comments. And so that caps off the calendar year of 2012. And it's not just ending the calendar year, we're actually ending the first full year of Pixel Freak. I started doing this in December 2011, and now here I am. We got 1,500 subscribers, almost 1 million views. It'll be 1 million views when the channel's actually 1 year old in February. But until then, all the new subscribers, because there's quite a few new people floating in the door now, welcome. Thank you and welcome. To all of you that have been here for almost a year now, thank you. Humbly, thank you, thank you, thank you, because this is an amazingly fun hobby. I'm having a great time doing this. I'd like to continue doing it in the future, and everybody watching actually makes that possible. We'll see you all in 2013. Until next time, this has been Pixel.